Good morning, everybody. Or did I say good morning? I guess I should say good evening. As you can see, I'm a little off my game. I'm all by myself today, but don't worry. We're going to have a co host join me shortly. But for now, I'm Aaron, and I'm here to show off some of the comics that we got coming out tomorrow here at Fantasy Books and Games. I normally like to start off with some facsimiles. We have a very special facsimile that's coming out tomorrow, and I'm going to wait a minute till my co host gets here to show it off. But there are some collected editions that I did want to make a brief mention of. Some of these are books that I've talked about when they came out as single issues that I really liked, and just wanted to let you know that the collected editions are now out. One of these is William of Newbury. I think I talked about this one quite a bit every time a new issue came out. This is a series by Michael Avon Oeming, and it's a just a really great comic. I love his art. But in this book, especially, he's giving off kind of a Hellboy vibe, like a little bit more than normal, I think. And that could just be because of the setting. It takes place in like a Middle Ages setting, and the main character is like a priest who's a ghost hunter. And it's a very gothic, very just like mystical and spooky. Really good book, though. It's just I don't want to spoil the story too much, but it's like a ghost hunter character who's been shunned by the church because the fact that he acknowledges that ghosts exist makes him a bit of a pariah. And there's a little bit of an ongoing story about saving the souls of two kids. But yeah, really good book. Highly recommended. I know I talked about it when the single issues were coming out, and if you missed it then, now's your chance to get the whole story as a trade paperback. And then let's see, what else do we got coming out? Oh yes, I've been waiting for this one. Astro City Metro Book number 6. I feel like it's been a while since Metro Book number 5 came out. I don't remember the last time I talked about this, but Astro City, if you don't know, this is one of my favorite comic books of all time. It's written by Kurt Busiek, art by Brent E. Anderson, and I love this. It's if you don't, you're probably this is one of those books that everybody talks about. Hey, all right, here's my lovely co-host is just joining me right now. There's your microphone. I don't know if it's on.
That means it's on, right?
Yes, yeah, it's
Testing.
yeah, all right. Hey, everybody say hello to Susie.
Hello.
I was just showing off some of the collected editions that are coming out
Oh, and I
tomorrow.
missed the facsimile cover today.
We haven't talked about it yet. I saved that one. We've got a couple of bigger books I wanted to show off. I was just in the middle of explaining how Astro City is one of my favorite comic books of all time, and this is Metro Book number 6. This series has been going on since the '90s. And Susie, have you ever heard of Astro City? Are you familiar with it at all?
No, I've heard of the name, obviously.
It's a book that gets talked about a lot, and
Yes.
it was one of those books. The same for me, where I always heard about it, and everybody's like, "You should read Astro City," and I just never got around to it until a certain point. I finally read like the first collected edition, and my mind was blown. I was like, "Why did I take so long to read this?" It's really great. I think you would actually like it a lot. Ooh. Because it is just like slice of life stories about random characters in a city full of superheroes. So it's more like just like it develops a little bit more over time, but early on it's like each issue is just a standalone story about a character, and so you'll get just like a story about one superhero in this town, like this character, the is it Jester? I think he is. He's like clearly like a Spider-Man-esque clown-themed character.
Interesting.
And then you'll have other stories just about villains. You'll have other stories about people that aren't heroes at all. They're just like people that get caught up in just the action of living in a city full of superheroes.
Oh, sure.
It's really good, and it's really well written. It's written by Kurt Busiek, who I do think is one of the top like kind of mainstream writers working Marvel, DC, Image, and stuff like that. Art is by Brent E. Anderson, which I already said for the stream. I'm saying that for now for your edification. But yeah, just I really love this book, and so this is volume 6. All the covers are by Alex Ross too.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so he kind of like it's this fun like joint collaboration where a lot of the character design is all done by Alex Ross, but then he just does the covers, and then Brent Anderson does the interior art. but it's really, really good.
God, what a cush job doing the covers, man. I miss it.
Hey, like I've said, that's like the dream job. All comic book artists, they work until they don't have to draw comics anymore.
Yes.
That's the dream, is to be so good at comics that you don't have to do it.
Oddly enough.
That's funny. There is one other collected edition I wanted to make mention of. I'm very excited about this. Giant hardcover collected edition of Vagabond. This is a manga series by Takahiko Ino, I think is how it's pronounced. But
Yeah.
this is an older manga series, but it is essentially it's not an adaptation of the Musashi story, but it's based on that, and it's basically Musashi. If you're not familiar with Musashi, he's probably the most famous historical samurai in Japan. Like, he was a real person, but all this like myth has been built up around him. A lot of like samurai, just like his use of samurai code, and he was a Ronin. Like, so he's like the most famous popular Ronin, as I understand it. But he also represents like change in the I don't want to like over
is it like entering into the Meiji era?
I don't remember the time period, so I don't want to like speak too far out of my expertise, but like I know he bucked tradition. So he was somebody who, like, he lived by the samurai code, but then he was also really inventive, and kind of, he had a like do whatever it takes to survive attitude, which is contrary to some of samurai code,
Sure.
you know. But then it caused a lot of debate of like, well, you know, it works, you know, in war and battle, so why should we not be doing this?
Right.
There's a little bit of element to that to it, but this is really great series, just classic manga. I love the history of Japan. I love historical Japanese stuff, and Musashi is just straight, like, there's no fantasy element to it. It's just samurai. Like, yeah, look at that cool page there. Yeah, awesome. So very, very cool stuff. So very glad to see this get the gigantic hardcover
like
treatment, omnibus. Yeah, it's just, the only problem is it's like these manga companies are killing me by putting out these giant books, these like giant $50 books, because it's like I want to get them all, but I can't read them fast enough, and then also spend the money on them to keep up with it fast enough. But like, that FOMO hits you, you know, where you're just like worried you're not going to be able to get it in the future.
I see that a lot with like the Berserk books, and I was like, I need to get into this. I know it, but
it's like I need to get it now before it's too late, you know. But it's like so long.
And that looks amazing, because like I grew up a lot on Rurouni Kenshin, and like Christian will always make fun of me for like bringing it up constantly. But like that is like,
and here you are bringing it up.
Well, you know, it's the few chances I get to.
I do recommend Vagabond. I briefly had a Rurouni Kenshin period. I believe we've talked about this when I was, because like when I was a kid, I was just like, samurai are cool, anything samurai. And I watched Rurouni Kenshin. Then after like a year, I was like, man, this is really girly. It's just, you know, it's for little girls.
Oh my god.
And I stand by that opinion. But
see, while you were out getting with girls, I was studying the blade.
That's right. So Rurouni Kenshin is for girls. Vagabond is for men. So I'm sorry, Susie, you're not allowed to read it.
Ouch.
But no, I recommend it. It's really, really good. All right, I got wow, yeah. There's one facsimile that's coming out tomorrow, but it is a doozy of a facsimile. It's one of those giant limiters collected edition, treasury edition. This is Superman versus the Flash, and I love that DC is putting out these giant edition books. And if you don't know, this one, it reprints one issue of Superman and one issue of the Flash, I should say. And in each issue, it's like famously Flash and Superman having a race to see who's the fastest one alive. It was such a fun concept. They didn't do it just once. They did it twice.
That's how fast they are.
They had one race. They had one race, and I don't want to spoil it, but because of the outcome of the first race, they had to have a second race.
Oh my god.
And it's a lot of fun. It's classic Silver Age comics. Silver and Bronze Age, I believe. But yeah, I just love that it's that these oversized pages and the DC's. I've talked about this. I say this every time, but DC is just killing it with their quality reprints. Like this looks so beautiful. It just really does look exactly like the book when it was originally printed, except pristine and not faded with
Yellowed.
50 years of yellowed pages. Yeah, but yeah, just great stuff. I forget. I think it's Kurt Swan who draws this first story here, but the credits aren't in the book, so I'm not certain. The second story, they do have the credits for that one. I also
Oh,
like,
that's so fun.
yeah, they have these treasury
Just
ones.
add a bunch of speed lines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the great Carmine Infantino. They do have these like fun like puzzles and
I saw the
just
back
like,
of the book has like a cut this out to like
yeah. There's like a
Oh,
make
that's
a little
fun.
diorama. How many kids destroyed their books by cutting out little paper dioramas? But yeah, the second story, I'm only pointing this out because the credits are actually in the book, and I can say so. The second story is drawn by Ross Andrew, who was a prolific artist in the 70s. He went on to draw Spider-Man for a very, very long
Ooh.
time. But yeah, just like fun, classic Silver and Bronze Age comics. I'm so happy that I'm just giddy with excitement that DC is doing this. I kind of wish Marvel would get on that train, but at the same time, I don't think they would do as good of a job as DC
No.
is, and then I'll just be disappointed because I don't want to be a downer. I don't want to complain about it.
And
But
I know we've talked about this before whenever we
Mhm.
get these oversized comics, but it's
Yeah,
always cool to see that that's pretty much the size that the artist is drawing on.
yeah, it's very
Like
very
it's
close to the
super
original
close to like an
size.
11 by 17.
Yeah, and you can just I mean I like it because you just can see the line work like so much clearer. And this isn't even like they weren't working in the most detailed style or anything, but like it just still looks it's so crisp and yeah, it looks really great and
Like
like
the
that.
inking with like the water,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
those
things like
textures are
that.
really cool.
Yeah, you can really get a feel for the textures and how they're working. It's yeah, you can really appreciate the art at this size. If I had my way, all comics would be gigantic and they would be impossible to carry.
Yes.
But I
And
guess
store.
and store, yeah. But I guess storage is kind of important.
Yeah.
If my comic book collection was all this size,
You need
I
another
would need a
house.
second house. Yes, I would. Okay, let's wait. There's really not like a whole lot coming out tomorrow, and I actually think this is the first week we did get all of our shipment. I haven't talked too much about this on the stream, but if people that are in the know with industry news, like Diamond Distributors, who's one of the main distributors of comic books, they've been really behind on stuff and they've been having fiduciary troubles and
Fiduciary.
yeah, that's
Look
one
at
of those.
that.
That's
Nice,
a $5
sweet
word
word.
for you. Um, broaden your horizons, Susie. But yeah. So, but like this actually is a week where we did get everything, but there's not a whole lot there. But there's several books that are in my regular pull. There's not. I don't know if there were even any like new. There was
Like
like
new
a couple of
series?
new. Yeah, there was no real like new launches, and if there were.
Nah.
I will admit there may have been, and I just wasn't interested in looking
Sure.
at them. They might have been a Marvel book, and I just was like, nah.
Yeah.
But I got a few things that we'll just kind of show off. I don't want to talk too much about this because I talk about it all the time, and I feel like I talked about it just like last week. But there's a new issue of GI Joe already, and this is GI Joe: Real American Hero, the Larry Hama series. I really like that Chris Mooneyham is back. I'll just like show off a little bit. Um, uh, uh, Show off a little bit of the art pages here. I love that classic Cobra Commander when he's in like incognito mode. He just is like looks like John Lennon. Like he wears a beret and these like circle sunglasses and has like a little mustache. So you can like sorta like see who he is, but it's still a little like if he took off the glasses and the hat, you probably wouldn't recognize him. But
Yeah, the reverse Clark Kent effect.
right. But yeah, GI Joe is just awesome. I love GI Joe, but I don't want to dwell on it too much. Also coming out tomorrow, Superman, and I have just been so happy with this Superman book, and the only reason I'm like really like kind of like hitting it home like so much about like why I'm like back on with Superman is because I was actually I was like cooled off on Superman last year because like they got all wrapped up in the events. They did like the crossover with Brainiac, the Brainiac event, and then it went right into the Absolute Power event. And I am a sourpuss when it comes to crossover events and stuff like
What?
that. I just want to read my Superman stories. I don't want to have to like follow a whole new thing.
But you were just
Uh,
saying how much you love multiverse
I,
stories,
was
you
was I
know?
was I saying that?
Yeah, you love it how it's everywhere
You
now.
know, it's I'm a complicated person because one of my favorite comics ever is the classic Marvel What If series.
Right.
And they are still making new what there's actually is a new What If comic that's coming out tomorrow, and I didn't even bother uh, talking about it because they're just not great. But
Yeah.
there's something special about the old What Ifs, and part of that is because that was before multiverses became such a commonplace thing.
Right.
Now it's like What If doesn't mean anything as a series because like every series just has an alternate multiverse
Whatever.
version of the character, and so like What If kind of lost all of its meaning. So that's why we're not talking about What If Galactus
Picked
picked
Gambit.
Rogue. No, Gambit was last week.
Oh,
This is the
gotcha.
other thing they do is they do the new What If series. It'll just be like a theme, and then they'll just put like 5 issues, and that way it'll be collected into a book. So it'll be
Oh,
like
of course.
the book will be the 5 issue book trade paperback will be like What If Galactus, and then each issue is like a chapter of what if Galactus made Hulk his herald? What if Galactus made Gambit his herald? What if Galactus
Right.
made Rogue his herald? And it's all just kind of derivative and repetitive, and it doesn't have that je ne sais quoi
Sure.
that the classic What Ifs had. But Superman, the reason I'm like back on the Superman train is because we're off of all of the crossovers and events, and we're just back into classic Superman stories. And one of my favorite things that they're doing with this, it's the original writer Joshua Williamson. He's been writing the series the whole time, and I like that we're in the middle of a big Doomsday story arc. And this comic just feels like classic 90s Superman. And I know that that is a time before you were alive, Susie, but back then we used to really like Superman and Doomsday. That was a kind of a big
Yes.
deal. And so, yeah, this issue has Doomsday's back, and there's a whole like war fleet of aliens whose are the last surviving remnants of worlds that Doomsday has destroyed, and they're all gonna just like they're just gonna kill Doomsday, and Superman can't let that happen because they're just gonna destroy the planet in their
Oh, shoot.
attempts to. They don't care about Earth. They're just like whatever. We're just gonna blow up the planet and kill Doomsday. So now Superman, I don't want to like necessarily spoil it, but there's this like wonderful page I did
Gosh,
accidentally.
Dan Mora is just
Beautiful
killing it.
page of Superman and Doomsday, like a Superman Doomsday team up question mark. And yes, the art is by Dan Mora, and he is just killing it on this. Like this guy, Dan Mora is just like he's like DC's like guy now. He's just
Yeah.
like doing
With like
everything.
the Shazam series and everything.
Yeah, he
like
did
last year.
Shazam. He did the Batman Superman
Was that
World's Finest with
Yes.
Mark Waid. He did draw the Absolute Power series with Mark Waid, which was the event that I didn't read. But yeah, like no, Dan Mora is just like Mr. DC right now.
And how is he doing it? He's just pumping out pages.
I think he just yeah, he's I think he kind of cracked that code where he's a veteran. I mean, he's been drawing pages for a while now, but he's kind of just settled into this like good clean style that is very I don't want to compare his art to Jack Kirby because that doesn't really make sense in a like aesthetically, like they're very different styles, but I think they both perfected the art of superhero comic book art where they can draw really fast and in a pretty simplified way, but in a way that also just like has a lot of energy and just action on the page.
Right.
And Dan Mora is probably helped by he's working with a good colorist who's Sanchez, I believe. yeah, Alejandro Sanchez. And
Oh,
so like that always gives the pages like a very specific look, like that
of
Dan
course.
Moore look. Part of that is coming from the colorist.
Sure.
But yeah, just like Superman has just been awesome. If you're a Superman reader, you should be reading this Superman series. I think it's probably one of the best Superman series that we've had in a long, just like straight Superman. Probably one of the best we've had in a long time. It feels like in many ways, it feels like a Superman greatest hits, like just like classic stuff.
God, can you imagine having his speed for drawing comics?
It would
Like,
be amazing.
we're both comic artists, so we understand. Like,
you'd be able to get so much work done. It would be amazing.
and like how much Jack Kirby got done in like a week is insane.
Jack Kirby would draw like an entire issue in a week.
I'm so jealous.
Pencils. You know,
Sure.
I think today there's a little bit more pressure put on artists where they're expected to do the inks as well, and
Right.
that kind of has created a whole different art style that's become kind of normal.
Yes.
But yeah, no, you know what? And that's, I think part of it was that old timey work ethic of just sitting down and doing it.
Right.
There was real
No, real-
Coca-Cola.
Oh,
yeah. That, you know what? That was yeah. Jack was drawing in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe, you know what? Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So moving on. Some other books that are coming out tomorrow. Another book that has been really, really good. I don't know if you've been reading this one, Susie.
I've not, but I've heard some really good things about it.
Absolute
Everyone
Wonder
loves
Woman.
the magic sword.
So I was gonna kind of talk about that, and this is another one of those things where it's like I don't really want to like spoil too much in this comic, but let me just say, Wonder Woman like takes magic sword to a whole new level in this issue, and it's kind of funny too. I'm looking at this and I'm like, are cute girls with giant swords having a moment right now? Because you know what, the other huge popular character right now, Magic,
Yes.
the X-Men, like she just had her own miniseries. Like I know she's in that Marvel Snap game, and
Right.
She's really popular in there. And so you have Magic, cute girl with a sword, Wonder Woman, cute girl with a sword, and you know, I know I've heard that size doesn't matter, but if we're gonna compare swords, Wonder Woman beats Magic for sure.
Ooh,
Definitely.
that's fighting words.
You know what? I don't know if I don't know if I can even like yeah. I don't want to like
spoil.
I don't necessarily want to spoil it, but like look at that. Like
that's insane.
Like it's like I did a double take. I was like, wait a minute, what am I looking at here? Like,
does it just extend like Goku's like staff?
Maybe it's just it. Like I said, I'm not even going to show it because I don't want to spoil it. You're going to have to buy the issue to see it. But it's pretty, as the kids used to say, epic. I don't know if kids still say epic, but you know, it's no,
not the latest.
No,
kids,
oh, okay.
I don't think.
What do they say? Is it is it yeet? Is that what you say?
Oh man, like a decade old.
Oh gosh, I'm getting closer though.
We need Celeste back. To help us
we Celeste needs to get me. Where is Celeste? We need her back in here and give me some of that that Zoomer
Zoomer
slang.
language.
Yeah. But yeah, Absolute Wonder Woman. This has been a really, really good book, and I've been really enjoying. I want to show some of the pages here. I don't want to spoil that one, but I have been enjoying two of the Absolute books a lot, and the one I've been reading the two I've been reading is Absolute Superman and Absolute Wonder Woman, and I really like Absolute Superman because I am a Superman fan. But I have to say, my favorite art in all of the books by a long shot is Absolute Woman. Absolute Woman. Absolute Woman.
Yeah, the panel layouts are really nice.
Absolute Wonder Woman by and I'm really embarrassed because I keep forgetting her name. I think it's there it is. That's what I was looking for. Hayden Sherman.
Oh.
And just beautiful. Like I like.
Look at those layouts.
Yeah, it's like I like this. Like it's very. It's weird to say, but like the art is very poetic in a weird way, which fits the kind of mystical, fairy tale, magical nature of Wonder Woman, and just really, really great. Like looks great. Like this is one of the best looking books on the stands right now.
And the colorist is doing a phenomenal job as well.
Yes, yeah. Like the overall aesthetic, everything about it is just so tight. It looks. I like that. It has like this page is a good example. I like that the art has really strong line work. Like you can tell there's a lot of lines on the page that you can see very clearly, and they're not buried by the color or they're not muddied by the color, but at the
Right.
same time the color pops so much and is such a like a huge part of the page and the overall aesthetic. So yeah, this is no joke. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is one of the best looking books on the stands. And it's Wonder Woman fighting giant monsters. And when the when the book was announced, I think I like a lot of the Absolute books. I kind of rolled my eyes because I was just like, okay, the high pitch for Absolute Wonder Woman is it's Wonder Woman, except instead of being raised on Amazonia, she's raised in hell, and it's like so edgy, so cool.
Yeah.
But it actually is really, really good, and it just embraces the concept and does it really well. So excellent book. You should definitely jump on
Yes.
Absolute. I mean, we're 4 issues in now, but yeah, really, really good book. Another book to talk about, I have not read, and I have almost nothing to say about it, but we're going to show it off because I know a lot of people are really excited about it.
Oh,
We've
yes.
been waiting like 2 months for this, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Naruto.
What a combo.
What a combo. How can
These turtles are just hanging with everyone.
these turtles do cross over with everyone. And so I love that that's sort of built into the concept of the Ninja Turtles, that because like even going back to the original toy line, they they would do like, you can only release the regular turtles so many times. So
Sure.
you release the Ninja Turtles wearing sports costumes, and then you release them wearing monster costumes, and then you release them wearing like cartoon costume, just
Here's
like
them hanging with the Power Rangers.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, they did do a Turtles Power Rangers thing, I think.
Yes.
And so yeah, it's sort of like baked into the concept of turtles is that they just cross over with everything because it's toys. It's
Yes.
I know what I'm talking about though. I know turtles like have their comic cred because they started as a comic book. Kevin Eastman and Peter
their
Laird.
whole origin story is a crossover with like Daredevil.
It is. It's just straight up riffing on the Daredevil origin. Yeah, and they did that on purpose, like just to as a joke, like just to be fun. But yeah, so I like that the Turtles can do fun things like this. I read issue 1 of Ninja Turtles and Naruto, and I had no idea what was going on.
Did you ever go into Naruto at all?
I've never read or watched a single Naruto anything. So it's not, the story was, I could follow the story. I'm sorry. I don't mean to imply that like it didn't make sense.
Sure.
It made sense. I'm just like, I know that Naruto's a ninja. And there's like what is it called? Hokage or something like that.
Hokage.
Hokage, yeah. And Hokage. I don't know. I don't watch Naruto.
Incredible.
But I know that this is a very, very popular book. People have been highly, like, really gunning for this second issue, waiting for it to come out. First issue sold out pretty quickly, so you should definitely jump on this. I mean that right there, like Naruto with a skateboard and Michelangelo, like it just
this is the dream.
I did not say Haktua, and I'm not going to say Haktua. We make our own memes on this 3 times. Yeah. But anyway, I think I made a joke because there's like 2 Ninja Turtles crossover books coming out right now. There's Ninja Turtles and Naruto, and there's also Ninja Turtles and He-Man.
Oh.
And Ninja Turtles and He-Man has there's been a big break between issues, but there's only 2 issues out of that, so we haven't talked about it a whole lot. But that book is definitely more for me, where it's just like, us 40-year-old dudes, we like watching Turtles in He-Man costumes.
Yeah.
And I imagine all the 20-year-old dudes, they're going to be just as excited for the Naruto costume. So I totally get it. Like I said, I'm not reading it, but I'm happy that it exists, and I know that a lot of people are really, really into it.
I'm just waiting for the Turtles versus the Predator books.
If
it hasn't been done already.
I'm kind of surprised it hasn't, but I guess it. Let's see. No, there was never a period.
Because is the Predator fighting Black Panther right now?
Yeah. So right now, like Disney owns all of the Fox assets.
Right.
Like they bought them, so that's why Disney just owns everything except the Ninja Turtles. But Disney owns like Predator and Aliens. That's why Marvel is publishing those books, which is why they're all crossing over with Marvel characters. They did Predator versus Wolverine.
Which is funny because like I think Predator fought Batman at some point.
Oh yeah,
I remember that issue.
Back in the 90s when Dark Horse owned all of the licenses to those movie characters, they did crossovers with DC, and so they did like Superman versus Alien, Predator, Superman versus Predator, Batman.
Sure.
There was like a Judge Dredd crossover with Alien that was pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there was there was a lot of those, and then like I said, Dark Horse doesn't own the license to nothing now, and so Disney's just getting on that with having their Marvel characters cross over with the the movie characters.
Yeah.
But you know what? Ninja Turtles Predator would be pretty awesome.
It would be pretty sick. Drop him in the jungle.
It would be good. But yeah, okay. So I know I kind of threw you on the spot with this stream, Susie. Did you read anything or have anything that you wanted to talk about?
I have not been able to read comics.
It's okay.
It's so long.
It's been a busy day. I know. It's all right. I have there's several books here that I want to talk about of all of varying quality, but most of them are stuff that I think I've talked about before. But we'll just kind of go through them. I'll give you the pitch for these books, see if I can get you interested.
There we go.
So first up, we have Metamorpho #2. I have been highly anticipating this book. I don't know if you heard me talk about issue 1, Susie, but issue 1 of Metamorpho the Element Man was one of my favorite comics to come out last year, and it literally came out the last week of 2024.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was just like, wow, this blows away all the books I read the previous year. Admittedly, it's a very stylized type of book, but it's stylized in the way that I really like. This is written by Al Ewing, who I think really he gets to have a lot of fun when he's working in kind of like a little bit of a satirical theme. And so this book, Metamorpho the Element Man, it's a new story about Metamorpho, but it's done in the style of a Silver Age comic. So
is this the one where he's like also melting?
Yes, that's correct.
Because there was like a weird pattern of like a Plastic Man was melting in his weird horror comic, Black Label, I guess.
That's right. It was a Black Label book.
And then like he's like.
Yes, we did. Were you on the stream when we talked about that?
I think I was listening.
Oh, okay. Wow, like, that was valued viewer of the stream. Unfortunately, our viewer count just like was decimated by you being on the stream.
Yeah, it's halved.
But you know what? We really appreciate everybody that's checking it out. We're just doing this for fun.
Oh yeah.
But I really like Metamorpho because aside from I just appreciate a good satire, a good comedy book. I just genuinely prefer the structure and writing style of a comic from the 1960s versus a modern day comic, where each issue is basically, it's not, I don't want to say it's a standalone story, but it's like a complete story. It feels really,
it ties together nicely.
Yeah, there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end, but there's also like a little bit of a tease and some ongoing threat that gets mentioned. And it's just really, really good. The art in this is by Steve Lieber, who has a very like classic vibe to his art. And yeah, each issue so far, I mean, this is only issue 2, but each issue has introduced a new character, and each issue is kind of about that character as we move along in the Metamorpho story. And just really fun superhero comics, like classic superhero comics. It's funny. There's a lot of captions here, and they're kind of jokey because they'll throw in like actual literal 60s slang. So it will like sort of like, it's a little like, that's the only thing I fear that will kind of turn people off, is that it's a little too comedic, like purposely trying to sound like a corny 1960s book,
like too quippy, or
just like with the like silly slang and stuff. Sure. Where like a normal person is going to be like, okay, this is a comedy book. And while it is a comedy book, I don't like it just because it's a comedy book. I like it because it's like really perfectly paced comic book writing, and it's just like classic. Like, I hate that I have to say this, but like all comic books used to be like this, and they used to be fun, and like there wasn't like this what's the word I'm thinking of? Just like this like fiduciary. Yeah, no, I already dropped that one today. No, there's this like comic book creators are all really defensive, and they have like a self-loathing streak where they're like demand to be taken seriously because everybody is like, oh, comic books, that's for little baby children. And it's been like that for a long time. And now I think it's been like 30 years of people being like, no, comic books are for adults. And that's some people lean too far into that, I
Sure.
think, where it's just like, it's not just because it's serious doesn't mean it's good. And I really love this Metamorpho book because it is serious in the story that it's telling, but it's also fun and just like really classic, perfect storytelling. So I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite books of the year. So 2 years running.
Nice.
It came out in December and January. It was one of my favorite books of 2024, and so far it's one of my favorite books of 2025.
Well, that's it. We can wrap up the
That's
stream.
right. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Like, we're done.
Like 2 issues. It's perfect. No, there's a few other books we're going to talk about. I've talked about this series, I think every issue that's come out. That's Wolverine Revenge. Now, this is a book that's kind of goes back into that, like it's a serious story, but also I think it kind of embraces some of the hokiness of classic Wolverine comics. This is written by Jonathan Hickman, who is somebody that I have not always loved. I actually would put him firmly in the category of somebody who tries too hard. There she is, right there. There's magic. But I think Hickman is working some magic in this story, and I think part of the reason is because it doesn't have to be a part of any continuity. It's just Wolverine killing villains, and it takes place in its own continuity. And this is issue 4, and the first 3 issues was basically just a greatest hits of Wolverine's enemies teamed up to kill him and all of his friends. And Wolverine survived because that's what he does.
Yes.
And now he's like, okay, now I'm going to go on my own revenge spree. And he goes and kills all of the villains. Oh. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like issue 3, like this is a Red Band book.
I was about to ask if this is one of our plastic wrapped ones.
This is one of the plastic wrapped ones. This is my copy, so I opened it. And art is by Greg Capullo. And so the whole point of this book is just to see some sick art of Wolverine just ripping people up.
Oh, sure.
And but like following the story, now we're on issue 4, and like we got to issue 3 and Wolverine killed everybody, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Where do we go now?
What are you doing now? Like I thought, like I just wanted to see Wolverine kill people, and you provided that. How are we going to have another issue? And the answer is, it's 20 years later, and now it's in like a post-apocalyptic setting, and you have old man Logan, like Wolverine, and now there's a new generation of villains that were related to the old villains that he all murdered. Now they're seeking revenge on him.
Wow.
So there's this ridiculous cycle of revenge, and I have to say, I was like, that's like just. Like it's like clever enough where you're like, okay, you can kind of like say something like with cycles of violence and what does revenge get you? And like Wolverine's not technically immortal, but potentially an immortal character. So he's lived a long time and he gets caught up in these cycles of violence. I'm like, okay. But at the same time, you also don't have to get too overwritten about it. And you just have panels and panels of Wolverine just ripping people up. And like, there's like 2 things I'll share on this page. First of all, on this page, you see Wolverine's been keeping Sabretooth alive, but he's like just slowly dismembering him over the years.
Oh my god!
Sabretooth.
Is he just in like?
He's in like Professor X's like
wheelchair.
X-Men '97 chair. He's like he's paralyzed and missing an arm, and just like every year Wolverine shows up to just like kill him, like
another
piece by piece. But also, as you can see, this is an interesting design by Greg Capullo. I kind of like this, like future design. It puts to rest the age-old debate: which Wolverine costume is better, the yellow one or the brown one? Why not both? Because this is the yellow, but with all the blue has been replaced by brown. And I'm like, you know what? It kind of works. It doesn't work in a classic comic book sense because I like the yellow and blue just like. Those
the iconic.
They're not. Okay, yellow and blue are not primary colors, are they? You're a colorist, right?
Yeah, they're primary colors.
Oh, they are primary colors. Okay, yeah. I'm not a colorist.
Red, yellow, blue.
I type. Red, yellow, blue are the primaries, and green, orange, and purple.
I spent $2,000 on a color theory class.
Okay,
so forgetting this.
the point is, primary colors just work for classic superheroes. So yellow and blue, like that's Superman or Superman. That'll always be Wolverine's
Super
like classic. Yeah,
recognizable.
yeah. But I like his brown costume because it has like a. It's still a bit of a superhero costume, but it has like a outdoorsy like woodsman feel to it.
The
Reminds me
Rams.
too much of the Rams, yellow and blue. Yeah, well, here in St. Louis, we have strong opinions about the Rams. So, but yeah, so this book is really good. I don't want to like it doesn't have quite as much violence as the previous issues, but when it does, it goes pretty hard with it. And that's because there's the red band version. The regular version has like a few pages. That's like I made this rant. I think of all the last times we talked about this series, so I'm not going to repeat it. I don't like that Marvel is doing the red band version and then like the PG-13 version. Just make the comic, but you
Yeah.
know whatever. Like the added pages in this are pretty sick. Just Greg
I just don't
Capullo drawing
understand.
Wolverine just ripping people up.
It's like it doesn't seem like that much more violent than like your typical.
It's not, and that was the thing I complained about. The first issue of Wolverine Revenge was polybag because it's for mature audiences only, and it came out the same week that Garth Ennis's Sergeant Fury Punisher crossover came out,
Sure.
and that one was a Marvel Max book, and they didn't bother polybagging that
Right.
because it's not a part of the gimmick. Like
I
it
was
just
gonna say
has
that is the gimmick.
the gimmick
though,
is
the
that it's
bag itself.
polybag. Yeah, exactly. So like whatever, you
They're
know.
like, oh, this is the extra violent one.
Yeah, so you know it's but I am enjoying this series for somebody who's not always hot on Hickman. It's a lot of fun. Hot on Hickman. That's put a little trademark on that
Yeah, there you
phrase.
go. You need the covers where like there was one gimmicky cover from the '90s where like it has like if you put like rub it or whatever, like the blood shows up on the page.
I don't remember that one.
There are some weird gimmicky ones in the past. And I was like,
Yeah.
they should do it. They should make it like all squishy.
I like that. That's I'm gonna have to figure out. I'll have to find out which
One
book
stream
that
we'll
is.
have to do like top 10 like gimmicky covers.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, I've got two more books to talk about. One of them I was not hot on, and the other one probably my favorite book of the week.
what you
So
just said you had one that was your favorite book of the year.
I know, and that's of the year. This is of the week.
Okay.
There's several good books that came out this week that I really like, and they're the ones that we've talked about today. One that grabbed my attention: Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon, because you know why not? Doctor
He's
Doom
just a
and
little guy.
and but what also caught me was that this is written by J. Michael Straczynski, who is a pretty popular writer. He's been around for a long time, but I've never.
Wait a sec, I know that colorist.
You know that colorist?
Yeah.
And Andrew Dollhouse?
Yeah, he's working on my pages right now.
You don't know him. You're working with him.
That's why I said I'm working with him.
Oh my goodness. Well, gosh, now I gotta like control what I say publicly about your friend, your best buddy, who I don't want to sabotage your career here. No, actually,
I was so late on one of my batches of pages that I offered to just like flat like 20 of them for free.
wow.
So, like, here you go.
No, actually, what I was gonna say, the nicest thing I'll say about this book is that it looks pretty good. I actually like the art in this a lot, and so props to your best friend, Andrew Dollhouse. No, it's also penciled and ink by Will Robson, who I'm not like really familiar with him, but this is a good looking book. Like I always like kind of complain about a lot of modern Marvel books, like they just look really sludgy, really light pencil and ink work, and a lot of the heavy lifting is done by the colorist. But these pages look pretty solid. They don't have that like mushy.
Yeah,
look
they have a
to
nice
them.
contrast.
There's a little crisp. Yeah, there's a crispness to it. But I've never really been the biggest fan of J. Michael Straczynski. He wrote Spider-Man for a long time in the early 2000s, and I followed that series until I got kind of bored with it. And I've never really enjoyed anything else by him that I've tried. This is a weird book because I've always associated JMS, as we call him for shorthand, is
Who's we?
Me and my cats. We refer to
All
as
6 of them.
JMS. But I've also put him in that category of comic book writers that are too serious about the stories that they're telling. And this is a weird book because it's very much a comedy. And I've
Huh.
never associated J. Michael Straczynski with comedy. And that's a little weird because he also was the showrunner and one of the main writers of the Ghostbusters, the Real Adventures Ghostbusters
Oh,
animated series from the 80s and
interesting.
90s. So I guess he's not totally disconnected from comedy. Like that was a very good show. But
Right.
like his comic book work, I've never really like gotten a lot of humor out of it. But this is definitely a humor series. Uh, Doctor Doom teams up with Rocket Raccoon for a special mission. They make reference to an issue of Guardians of the Galaxy from 2020, issue number 14, where apparently Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon switched bodies,
What?
which is how they know each other. And it sounds like really ridiculous and silly and exactly the type of comedy that I don't like in my Marvel comics. It's just like a little too, I don't know. I'm a complicated person.
Oh,
Everybody's too serious, but also the comedy is bad. Uh, and that was so I wasn't like, I don't know, I don't have a lot to say about this comic. Rocket Raccoon is fun and it's a weird pairing, Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon, but it is kind of tied to some modern continuity. There's a little bit of like a retelling of their past, of like Doctor Doom's past, and it's a one shot, I guess I should say. It's not like it's just like a simple idea of
Oh, look at
not,
that panel.
oh
He's just going.
yeah, yeah. I don't mean to say it's a simple idea. I mean to say that it's an idea that's completely executed in this one issue. And you know what? It's Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon palling around,
Yeah.
working on some secret super science thing. Um, you'll probably like it. I don't know. Admittedly, I got about halfway through, and
You're really selling it.
I kind of just like skipped to the end at a certain point where I was like, okay, I don't have time. I've got other things to read, but you know what? The art was really good. I'll say that again. It was a good looking book, legitimately.
And such great colors.
Yes, that's right. It did have really good colors. Okay, now we're going to talk about the book that I am really excited about, the one that's not Metamorpho, and that is Tom Scioli's Godzilla Monster Piece Theater. It's fine. Exactly. Thank you.
It's fine.
It's fine. Well, this book is more than fine. This is epic. I like Godzilla. I think I talk about this kind of like every time I talk about a Godzilla comic, because there are a lot of Godzilla comics,
Yes.
and most of them are
Fine.
fine or less. But occasionally you get like a really great Godzilla comic where you have like an auteur creator that's like, I have a Godzilla story. Like I've talked about James Stokoe's Godzilla, the Half Century War. That's one of my
Right.
favorite Godzilla comics. Last year we talked about Andrew McLean and Jake Smith's Godzilla. Is it War for Humanity? I think that one was really good. And now we have
Godzilla's a metaphor.
exactly, yeah, yeah. And now we have Tom Scioli, Godzilla's Monster Piece Theater. And right off the bat, my favorite thing about this book is that it is very unpretentious. It is, but it's kind of ironic to say that, because Tom Scioli, what he's doing with this series is he's doing Alan Moore's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but with Godzilla and other like characters. Like in this issue, Godzilla fights Dracula, and also a werewolf and a mummy and Frankenstein. And also the Great Gatsby is in it,
What?
as is Sherlock Holmes. And just it's so like
The style is awesome.
He's a very stylized artist. Now, it should be no surprise to you that one of the things I love about Tom Scioli is that he has worked his whole life in the style of Jack Kirby. And so this book is, I can tell it's very like I said, it's he's riffing on the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen idea, where you just take all these old literary characters and bundle them together in a new story, like a modern story. Caroline Cash just announced that she's doing a Godzilla book. Well, that's pretty cool. I'll check that out. But yeah, so like what I like about this book, like I said, it's unpretentious because it's not trying to make Godzilla's not a metaphor for anything in this. He's just a giant monster, as is everybody else that fights him. and they're like the Great Gatsby's kind of the main character who's like trying to hunt.
What an outfit.
Yeah, that's the G Patrol like that he creates.
Oh my goodness.
Sure. Spoiler alert. This is the third issue. It's the final issue of the series. Spoiler alert. Sherlock Holmes got turned into a vampire by Dracula, and they have to fight vampire Sherlock Holmes. And there's like it's just so good. There's it's the pages are really dense too. Like the action moves really fast, as you can kind of see. There's a lot going on here. And then there's a part where I love these giant spreads of Godzilla. Like they just
Ooh.
look so good.
It gives you the scale.
Yeah, Baron von Frankenstein shows up with his monster, and there's a part where I am gonna just spoil this because I know nobody's reading this book. And if you are reading this book and you don't want to spoil, then just turn off the stream right now. I like this.
There's a comic book for everyone.
Yeah. It's something out there for everybody. You know, I like this. There's the Time Machinist character, and if you're a fan, if you're a student of Jack Kirby's work, you'll recognize like this contraption is very much like a fourth world Kirby design. Like it's the type of thing Orion rides around in, just like this weird vehicle that's just like wires and handles, and it doesn't have any like density to it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, just I love this. And yeah, like there's vampire Sherlock Holmes, and there's a part where like I don't want to spoil too much, but like yeah, here you go. So there's like the story opens with Godzilla in the previous issue just destroyed the pyramids, and that disrupted a mummy. And now Godzilla is suffering the mummy's curse, because the curse is that whoever just disturbs the mummy will chase him down and kill him. But Godzilla's a giant, and like, what's a mummy gonna do to
That's
giant Godzilla?
amazing.
Well, Dracula gets a magic ring that he's able to grow the mummy to Godzilla's size, and now the mummy is fighting with Godzilla. It's just
wow.
Like I said, it is so unpretentious. Like it's just like monsters fighting.
They're just having fun.
They're just having fun. It looks great. It's wonderful. I was very, very, very pleased with it. I highly recommend it.
You know, between that and the Creature Commandos, like there's been a lot of like monster hype.
Yeah, there has been. And like the Universal Monsters comics have been coming out lately.
Right.
Those have all been really good. Yeah. It's a new
new
dawn,
era.
a new era of monsters.
Forget multiverse.
That's
monsters.
right. That's Monsterverse. Oh wait, they tried that. It failed.
Oh well.
We're bringing it back. We're gonna try it again.
Time.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's really all I got. That's for books that are coming out tomorrow. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm Aaron. This is Susie. Like our good friend Dan says, there's comics out there for everybody. It's not just superheroes. There's all kinds of stuff. So we just want you reading comics. But if you can't get them from us, get them from somewhere. But you should try to get them from us here at Fantasy Books and Games, because they can come in and talk to me and Susie about comics.
You get our glowing personality.
And you know what? As you just sat with us for like an hour while I rambled on about some nonsense. So yeah, come on in.
Now you can do that in person.
Wow. Yes. All right, everybody. We're done for the night. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.